Hello and welcome back for the first background video. Today I want to talk about how I came up with ideas for backgrounds. So it's more about brainstorming, not the actual drawing process. That one will come later. Sometimes you have a character but you don't know what background would fit. Or you have like a vague idea but you are not sure how to further develop that idea. Then maybe this video will help you. But before we start the video, just a quick note on the video in the background. Since the video is more a talking video, I decided that I simply put a speed paint of something in here I work on anyways. So here you have 3 ACEO cards and well, please enjoy the process of the coloration. But let's start with the topic. So let's start with the case that you have no clue on what kind of background you want to draw. Me personally, it helps to ask myself a couple of questions in the brainstorming phase. So, first question, where do you find that character in games, movies, series, etc.? This first one is obviously more for fan art. For Pokemon, I sometimes look where you can find that Pokemon in the games. Take Spinda for example, you can find that Pokemon on Route 113 in Hoenn. There you have tall grass, ash rain and the mountains that gives you some key elements for the background. But even when the Pokemon has a more generic zone where it appears, it gives you a general feeling of the habitat, if it prefers forests or open grasslands or something completely different. Same thing can be done with every fictional character. Big city, small village in the mountains, hundreds of years ago or in the future. It may give you a first idea. Second, where would you find that character in our world? Let's start with a Pokemon example again. If they were real, where would they live? Caterpie, as a caterpillar, would live near some green plants it could eat, but also need some protection from enemies. So maybe a forest, some big bushes, or a garden would be a good place. Just think about where monkeys, birds, snakes, fish, and all the other creatures can be found. But that also works for completely different characters. Take a young girl as character. So she probably has her own room, places she likes to hang out like the mall, the cinema or a park, and places where she has to be, at school, at the part-time job or at the sports team. Trying to think about the character as a real being and thinking about the normal life of said character and where this life take part may also help you to get a rough idea. And don't worry, we work on the fine-tuning later. Third, where would the character live because of its type? Just think about water Pokemon. They often live near the water, obviously. That works for all kinds of creatures. You probably wouldn't put a creature made of ice in the middle of a hot desert. But again, this also works for human characters too. Try, for example, to think where this character belongs based on the clothes they wear. Fourth, where does the characters live because of some conditions? Let's take again water Pokemon. Fish have to live in the water, right? Otherwise they would die sooner or later. Charmander, on the other hand, dies if the flame on his tails go out, so it has to stay away from water. For humans, they may have to go to school, or if they have an illness, they are maybe allergic to sunlight and live in darkened rooms. So this question should help you to get an overall idea on what kind of background would fit the character. Of course you can always play with it, and why not trying to think on a scenario where a fish could survive in the desert. But just the overall idea is sometimes not enough inspiration. Like you decided on drawing a forest, but what kind of forest? What objects to put in there? I also tried to cover this for you. First thing is reference photos. Well, let's start with the obvious part. Reference photos, especially when you made them yourself, are great for inspiration. I, for example, love to take photos of nature and may use them later for my drawings. And you don't have to copy your references one to one. Use parts of it, combine a couple of pictures, or just use a single object. Only make sure when not using your own photos that you are allowed to use it. Second, visual library. But even better than having some single reference photos is to build your own visual library. This can be photos, sketches in your sketchbook, or even just simple knowledge. Just think how much easier it is to draw some interesting forests if you know some various different trees, plants, mushrooms and animals to put in there. If you know how different the shapes of leaves are or what interesting forms trees can have. But that's not only for nature. How many different interior styles do you know? Can you draw different shapes of lamps, pillows and rugs? What forms can windows have? Simply walk with open eyes around. If something interesting catches your eyes, take a quick photo for later use. Or, of course, the internet is your friend here as well, but also books about plants or the catalog of a furniture store can help you with it. Third, what fits the drawing? So, we now knew objects we could put in there, but how do we decide? Well, start from an obvious point, like the pose. A really simple example, you want to draw a sitting character, so you need an object the character sits on, like a bench or a chair. Is there something that has to be in the drawing for the drawing to work? Well, that's a good starting point. Fourth, build connections of objects. Let's take the sitting character again, and let's say the character is drawing. So we already knew we have to have some kind of object the character is sitting on. So the character is sitting on a chair in her room. Is she sitting on a desk? Maybe, and she has her pencils all over the table. Well, what else is on the table? What is next to the desk? A wall featuring her drawings, maybe? Or the character is sitting on a bench in a park also drawing. There is no table, so where are her materials? Maybe in a backpack next to her. Is something else on the bench? Maybe a curious bird watching her? And what is right next to her? A tree that gives shadow to the surrounding when the scene is taking place in the summer, or that is nearly empty with most of the leaves on the ground in autumn. If you don't know your wall background, just start with one object and see what other objects it connects with. And in no time you have a whole string of connected objects. When you have your ideas together, you can start with your sketch, where you can arrange your newly found ideas to a cool background. The next part would be composition and theoretically thumbnailing different ideas. Even honestly, I'm mostly skipping the thumbnails. But if you like, I can show it to you anyways. For now, you now can brainstorm your own background ideas. Hopefully it helped you, and I will write down the questions in the info box for your quick access. If you like this video, please tell me so that I know if you would like to see more about it in the future. You can also leave questions or suggestions in the comments. And would you like to see a video where I use those questions to brainstorm a complex drawing with you? We could use that piece then also for the thumbnailing composition video. Next week I would like to show you some easy ways for simple backgrounds for your digital drawings that you can use if you don't feel the detailed background. So stay tuned for that.